organization.
Okay, let's talk about college admissions. If two different children are applying for college, let's say one is white and one is black, and there's one slot available, should they be evaluated based on the same objective criteria? Test scores, for instance.
Are you familiar with holistic admissions?
Should they be held to the same standards regarding test scores?
I am a proponent of holistic admissions.
It's just a yes or no question.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that question for you as a proponent of holistic admissions.
Got it. I'll take that as a no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are watching a masterclass in how to dodge a question and how to catch someone in their own trap. We're looking at Representative Brandon Gill during a House Oversight Committee hearing. He's going head-to-head with a Democrat witness, and let me tell you, it's a total train wreck for the left. You're about to see the exact moment where logic meets DEI ideology, and spoiler alert, the DEI ideology doesn't survive.
Dr. Harper, I've got a couple questions for you. Just starting out, do you believe that ageism is a form of bigotry?
Yes.
You do? Yeah, I thought so because you wrote an article saying that ageism in media discourse about Biden's re-election is an issue. Do you still believe that ageism was an issue in the past election cycle?
I believe that ageism in any form and in any context is a problem.
Do you believe that Americans who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were bigoted?
I did not say that in my article, nor do I claim that now.
You said that ageism is a form of bigotry.
Ageism is a form of bigotry, but I did not say that in my article. You cannot misrepresent my ideas.
Okay, well, why don't you provide your explanation for that? Ageism is a form of bigotry. People who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were ageist. How do you square that?
I'm less concerned about Joe Biden's age. I am more concerned about young people and older Americans being systematically denied opportunities and access because of their age.
Do you think that Joe Biden's age had a relation to his cognitive decline?
That is outside of my area of expertise.
Do you need to be an expert to determine whether an 82-year-old man who is clearly, visibly declining mentally on camera, if that has anything to do with his age?
I'm not a cognitive scientist.
You're not? Okay. Of course you're not. Do you think those Americans were right to be concerned about Joe Biden's age?
Again, you're missing the point. The point is about the ageism itself. Okay. It isn't about Joe Biden.
We're going to move on. Do you believe that America should be a colorblind society? For instance, should people be treated differently based on their race? It's just a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
It is as I said in the beginning of my testimony, America has not done right by indigenous peoples, by black people, by Asian American and Pacific Islander people.
Should people be treated differently based on their race? Yes or no?
People should receive the services and the support and the remedies that are owed to them.
That they should be treated differently based on their race.
They should receive the remedies that are owed to them because of the systemic racism and injustice.
Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
I did not call you a racist.
No,
you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist.
Straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
I believe that diversity ought to be considered as companies and other organizations attempt to reflect their customers, our country.
I'll take that as a yes. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
Well, you just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay. Why don't you explain what you believe?
What I said and what I believe is that the demographic composition of workplaces, our nation's military, and so on, our Congress ought to reflect the diversity of the United States of America.
Racial demographic composition. Racial demographic, is that what you're saying?
Racial, gender.
Okay, so race should be a factor in employer hiring practices. Yet that's what you're saying, is it not?
Organizations ought to attempt to match the diversity of
you're
their...
hopping around the question.
No,
you don't want to
I am
answer
answering
it.
quite straightforwardly,
Who
as a matter of
gets to
fact.
determine which races are preferred?
I already told you I don't have a single racial group.
You just told me that you believe that the racial demographic makeup should be taken into account in hiring practices.
And it should be reflected in all levels of companies and other organizations.
Okay, let's talk about college admissions. If two different children are applying for college, let's say one is white and one is black, and there's one slot available, should they be evaluated based on the same objective criteria? Test scores, for instance.
Are you familiar with holistic admissions?
Should they be held to the same standards regarding test scores?
I am a proponent of holistic admissions.
It's just a yes or no question.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that question for you as a proponent of holistic admissions.
Got it. I'll take that as a no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Let's talk about what just happened in that hearing. Because what you saw wasn't just political theatre. It was a perfect snapshot of what's happening to America right now. A simple question was asked. If two students, one white, one black, apply for one college spot, should they be evaluated using the same objective criteria? It's not a complicated question. It's not philosophical. It's not abstract. It's a yes or no question. And yet, the witness couldn't answer it. Why? Because answering honestly would expose the truth. The modern left no longer believes in equal standards. They believe in engineered outcomes. This is what holistic admissions really means. It means the rules change depending on who you are. It means merit becomes optional and identity becomes everything. For decades, Americans were told to judge people by the content of their character. Now we're told that's racist. Now we're told fairness itself is discrimination. And when confronted with that contradiction, what happens? They dodge. They deflect. They talk in circles. You saw it again when the topic shifted to age. The witness said ageism is bigotry. But when asked whether Americans were justified in worrying about an 82-year-old president showing visible cognitive decline, suddenly, she wasn't an expert anymore. So which is it? Age matters or it doesn't? Because here's the truth most Americans already understand. Recognizing reality isn't bigotry. It's common sense. If someone is older, they are statistically more likely to decline. That's not hate. That's biology. But in today's political climate, acknowledging obvious facts is treated as a moral crime. And then came the biggest moment of all. The question about whether America should be a colorblind society. Again, simple, clear, foundational to the civil rights movement itself. And still, no direct answer. Instead, we got the usual talking points. Systemic racism, historical remedies, differential treatment. Let's translate that into plain English. They believe people should be treated differently based on race. That's not equality. That's legalized discrimination dressed up in academic language. And when pressed further, when asked whether race should be considered in hiring, the witness accused the questioner of intimidation and racism, even though he never said anything about white people being superior. This is the modern political strategy of the left. When you can't defend your ideas, accuse your opponent of being immoral. It's not about debate anymore. It's about silencing. But what made this exchange powerful wasn't shouting or grandstanding. It was calm, direct questioning. The kind of questioning that forces ideology to collide with reality. And every time that happened in this hearing, reality won. Because here's the bottom line. If your system can't survive the yes or no question, your system is broken. If your philosophy requires endless caveats, academic jargon, and emotional manipulation just to avoid saying, yes, people should be treated equally, then you're not defending justice. You're defending a hierarchy. This is why so many Americans are waking up. They're watching these hearings. They're seeing the evasions. They're hearing the contradictions. And they're realizing something that used to be unthinkable. The people lecturing them about equality don't actually believe in it. They believe in outcomes, not fairness. They believe in identity, not merit. And they believe that power, not principle, should decide who gets ahead. That's not progress. That's regression. And the more this ideology is exposed in public, calmly, logically, and on record, the faster it collapses under its own contradictions. Because truth has a way of surviving even the most carefully constructed political narratives. And what you saw in that hearing was truth doing exactly that.